Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So for part 4, what I'm going to do is take you through the scriptures that speak about Mystery Babylon. Now, in the book of Revelation, there are 2 chapters entirely devoted to this mystery. This alone should tell you that she's important, but more than that, because these chapters are in Revelation, and Revelation is solely about the time of the end, it also means that who she is has massive bearing on how and why these events occur. So I'm going to start in Revelation 17, and as I read through the text, I'll be compiling a list of all of her attributes. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-coloured beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colour, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her head was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, so I'm going to skip verses 8 through 14, because they're exclusively about the beast, and I will start in verse 15. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay, so according to what we've just read, her attributes thus far is that she is a whore who sits on many waters, and a whore is a woman who sells her body for gain. The kings of the earth fornicate with her, and the inhabitants of the earth are made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Her location is the wilderness. She sits atop the beast, and this is the same beast that rises up out of the sea in Revelation 13. She is clothed in purple and scarlet colour and the precious things of the earth, and these 2 colours are interesting because scarlet is the colour of blood, while purple is the colour that is between blue and red, with blue being the colour of the sky. In her hand is a golden cup full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. She is the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, which means that she gave birth to all the harlots and all the abominations on the earth. She is drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. The waters where she sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. The 10 kings will hate her, and will make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And finally, she is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Now moving on to Revelation 18. And after these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple and silk and scarlet, and all tine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lasted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen, and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, of whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Okay, so according to Revelation 18, she becomes the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The merchants of the earth are made rich through the abundance of her delicacies. God's people dwell in her and are called out right before her judgment. She sits as queen and says in her heart, I am no widow and will see no sorrow. When she is judged, the merchants shall weep and mourn, because no man buys their merchandise any more. She is a city of trade, but not just some trade, all trade. And when she is taken out of the picture, all trade ceases everywhere. The angel takes a stone like a great millstone and throws it into the sea as a physical example of her judgment. She deceived the nations with her sorcery, and this word sorcery is pharmakia in the Greek, which means the use of drugs, medicine, or spells. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that was slain upon the earth. Okay, so this is the problem. If we take into consideration all of these attributes, there is not a single place or entity on the face of the earth which matches this description. For instance, a common belief among Christians is that Mystery Babylon is the Catholic Church. However, if we go through this list, the Catholic Church fails on just about every one of them. So for instance, is the Catholic Church located in the wilderness? No. And bear in mind that when you see this word wilderness, you should automatically be thinking about the physical example that was given to us in the book of Exodus. Is the Catholic Church the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth? In other words, did she give birth to all the harlotry and all the abominations of the earth? No. And we know this because there was plenty of harlotry and abominations going on prior to the Catholic Church. Is she drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus? No. Does she sit on many peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues? In a way, yes, because Catholicism has spread all over the earth. However, when the Bible says that the harlot sits on many waters, it means that she literally sits on many waters. So for instance, when the beast rises up out of the sea, Mystery Babylon is sitting on it in an elevated position. Is she a great city which reigns over the kings of the earth? No. Is she the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird? No. And I'll also point out that this word bird is absolutely a reference to the cosmology. So when you think about a bird, your mind immediately goes to a creature that dwells in the tops of trees and flies across the face of the sky. Well, the merchants weep and mourn when she is judged because no man buys their merchandise anymore. So for instance, if the Catholic Church was right now wiped off the face of the earth, would this event prevent all the merchants from buying and selling to man? No. And I might add that the same is true for any place on this earth. Did she deceive the nations with her sorcery? So as I said earlier, this word is pharmakia in the Greek, which also means drugs and medicine. No. Is the blood of prophets and saints and all who were slain upon the earth found in her? No. And again, there is not a single place on the face of the earth that this would be true for. And the reason is because Mystery Babylon is not an earthly city. She is the city of the angels and her dwelling place is in the realm of the air. But more than that, what she is the mechanism through which the angels are being birthed onto the earth, which is why she is the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth, because it all came through her. So if you want a mental picture of what she is, think of a woman giving birth in an enclosure of water, where the water represents the peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And what she's doing is birthing the angels into the bloodlines so that they can be sanctified and redeemed through the blood of Christ. Which, if you think about it, it's exactly the same imagery as water baptism. So the angels are coming down from the heavenly realms, they are being submerged in the water through her, and then they must be born again to enter back into heaven. So with that said, what I'm now going to do is prove to you, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that Mystery Babylon is a city located in the realm of the air. So this is Revelation 16, and this account is about the judgment vials of God. And the thing that I want you to take note of here is that where these bowls are poured out is also where the thing is that's being affected. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. So here the bowl is being poured out on the earth, and those who are on the earth who have the mark of the beast, they are the ones who are being affected. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man. So here it's being poured out on the sea, and it's the sea that's affected. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. So here it's poured out on the rivers and fountains, and it's the rivers and fountains which become blood. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. So here it's the same again. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. And it's the same here again. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So here it's exactly the same again. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So now it should make perfect sense to you why the angel in Revelation 18 used the physical example of throwing a stone like a great millstone into the sea to show us the fate of Mystery Babylon, because that's exactly what's going to happen to her. Now, in the very first video of this series, I spoke about the account of the Tower of Babel. In that account, man was trying to build a tower to ascend into heaven. This is important because in the list that I made of the attributes of Mystery Babylon, there are several which suggest that the kings of the earth are going to be doing the same thing again. So this is the list from Revelation 17, and the thing that I want you to take note of is the type of language that is being used to describe her. So first, the angel calls her a great whore who sits on many waters, and a whore is a woman who sells her body for gain. And secondly, he states that the kings of the earth will fornicate with her, which causes the inhabitants of the earth to be made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now, fornication is the unlawful act of a male inserting himself into a woman, which is the same thing as man building a tower to ascend into heaven. Now, I want to be clear here. I am not saying that the kings of the earth are going to build another massive structure like they did in Genesis 11, because they don't need to. All they require is some mechanism for transmission. Now, in Revelation 18, it also states that she becomes the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, and that God's people dwell in her, but are called out right before her judgment. In other words, what these attributes are telling us is that when the kings fornicate with her, it also allows the demons, the foul spirits, and all the hateful birds to ascend into the city, which immediately prompts God to call his people out of Mystery Babylon, because what is coming next is the wrath of God. In essence, God is kicking the ladder out, and he is casting everything back down to the earth. Now, in the last video, I mentioned that huge chunks of the book of Daniel is about this stuff. So before I end the video, what I'm going to do is take you through Nebuchadnezzar's second dream. Bear in mind that Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon, and Babylon is the kingdom which God used to destroy Jerusalem and take the remnant of his people captive. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. Now I want to stop for a moment to point out that everything that we are reading here is cosmological language. So this tree, which Daniel later on tells us is Nebuchadnezzar, also represents the kingdom of Babylon, and by extension is a physical depiction of Mystery Babylon. So the branches and the leaves of the city, the fowls are the angels, and the beasts of the field, they are the people who dwell on the earth. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, Hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. So Nebuchadnezzar's punishment was to be driven out of his kingdom to dwell with the beasts. His heart was changed from that of a man to a beast until 7 times passed over him, which is the same punishment that was given to the angels in Psalms 82. So they were driven out of the heavenly realm and were given the minds of man and forced to dwell on the earth until the period of their punishment was over. Now, interestingly enough, this account also gives us the timing of when this event occurred. Notice how, when the tree was cut down, that its stump was bound in fetters of brass and iron. In Daniel 2, God states that there will be 4 kingdoms on the earth. The first was gold, followed by silver, then brass and iron, which means that these angels started to be birthed during the reign of the last 2 kingdoms. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon, that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. Notice a reference to birds again here, and the reason is because Nebuchadnezzar is being used by God to illustrate what happened to the sons of God. But more than that, because he also depicted him as a tree which was cut down, he is giving us a simple way to understand Mystery Babylon as well as her fate. So just think of her as a tree. And like a tree, she extends from the realm of the air into the bloodlines and down into the earth, which is also why in the book of Revelation, she is clothed in purple and scarlet color and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, because these things are a reference to the cosmology. So for instance, precious stones are found in the earth, scarlet is the color of blood, and purple is the color of the realm of the air because it exists between the sky, which is blue, and blood. And ultimately, her fate is to be cut down just like a tree. And on that note, thanks for watching.